today's video, I'm going to be attempting my second acro flight on the V2450 GPS. As you can tell, I'm a little bit wobbly, but I'm learning, and this is actually a pretty easy quad I'm finding to learn acro on. So it doesn't have auto stabilize, so it's kind of a little tricky to keep it level. So I'm going to try my first flip here. And let me just tell you, if you want to try doing flips, you need to get high, like around 50 feet-ish. I'm not a very good judge of altitude, but yeah, you definitely need to get a little bit higher. So after I show you the tricks I was doing, I'll show you the controller combinations I was doing. And there's really not much to it. It's just kind of just getting used to controlling it in acro mode, because I'm used to flying in FPV in acro mode, so this is kind of different for me. So get good and high. And I don't know if you call that a flip, a roll, a barrel roll, or what, but that's essentially the gist of it. Like I can do it forwards, backwards, left, or right. That was a backward flip. It's more of a loop. I think it's more of a loop. It's not really a flip. It's more of a loop. So, okay, let's try this again here. Up, and then, no, not quite enough. The problem is that the way I'm doing it is, now that was a good flip, except for the big loss of altitude. What I was doing here was I was holding the throttle for the entire duration of the flip, so that pushes it down. That's what's unique about quadcopters, is they're always pushing downward as you're flying, so it's hard to explain. Anyway, let's try it again. So that was pretty good. It's just here again, there's so much downforce during when it's inverted, that it's pushing the quad down, and then it's got to really fight to recover. Getting a little ways out into the distance here, but it didn't look too good. But you got to have your stick perfectly straight when you do these, or it's going to kind of do kind of a weird corkscrew. Well, yeah. Okay, so walk of shame here. I strongly suggest, if you're learning, learn over grass. This is, we're kind of getting out of winter finally. There's some green grass out here, but definitely try to fly over grass, or something not like concrete. I tried to take off in here, and it was a no-go. Alright. This is so awesome, though. It's the only quad you can get at retail that has acro. And it's the only GPS quad I know about that has acro too. Oh, see now, I think part of this is user error, because, like I said, I'm keeping it at full throttle for the entire duration of the flip. So I'm getting a lot of downforce when I'm trying to bring it back up right. So the inverted downforce is pushing it down a lot. And this is a brush quad, and it's kind of a cruiser quad anyway. It's not really a really ultra sporty brushless quad, but just the fact that you can do it is really awesome. But yeah, that was a good flip. That was a model flip. I'm proud of it. And yeah, that's the tricky part about flying in acro, is it doesn't auto stabilize. So when you get out of your loop, or when you're finishing it, getting your heading just right, that wasn't too bad. I'm kind of getting the hang of it here. Yeah, and it's like almost ready to crash, and then it just barely recovered. So yeah, definitely my two biggest pro tips out of this: get it up high, fly over grass. That's my best advice, because You don't want it smacking into solid objects. Shake a little stuff off it, hand launch it. It always goes back, it seems like it always goes back to stabilized mode, so you got to re-enable acro every time you take off, but that's fine. I have a feeling it's starting to kind of run low on power. Just so you know, acro is a big time battery burner. You're constantly recovering for it, and it's easy to you're giving it a lot of juice all the time. It seems like so. That's just something to remember. And because I'm an honest reviewer, I have to include my crashes, and I am going to crash here. But it survived. It's all good. That wasn't too bad. And not so good. Anyway, so I'll show you some of the controller motions, and maybe that'll kind of help you understand what I was doing and what you need to do when you're flying, because a lot of people just don't explain it. So here I'm going to go full left stick all the way up, and then right stick all the way down. So that's doing a backflip. And then here I'm going to go left stick all the way up, and then right stick all the way to the right. It's not it's not as hard as it might look. It's just like I said, give yourself plenty of altitude, and just understand that when you go once you go inverted, the quad is actually getting a lot of downforce, pushing it down towards the ground. So you want to keep that in mind, and you can do this better. I guarantee it. It's just a matter of practice, and I'm learning too. So, obviously, hopefully somebody who's a little more practiced can maybe explain a little bit better how to pull acro moves. But just for me, it's just a lot of fun. I mean, it's just the novelty of being able to just get in a plug and play drone that you can buy at Walmart and enable acro so easily. And one idea I've kind of had rolling around in my head for a while is I have this Visuo XS809W, and I just, for the heck of it, I decided to try and compare the dimensions and weight of this quad to the V2450, and there's only a weight difference of 4 grams between these two quads. And I was like, well, that could work, because the V2450, it's made out of this kind of a how do I'm trying to figure out how to describe it, but the plastic's really flexible. So the arms are flexible and the props are really flexible. And I feel like the Visuo is a much more stable drone. It doesn't vibrate as much, and it just feels much more locked in. I don't believe that's because of the flight controller. I think it's just because the quad itself just doesn't flex as much. But the dimensions are almost exactly the same as far as the arms and props. I mean, the Visuo drone looks like it has a lot more body to it, but it actually doesn't. Like the this one's 143 grams, and the Visuo is 147. 4 grams. That's all it is. 4 grams difference between these two quads. And so I was just wondering if maybe I could just take the flight controller out of the GPS and swap it over to the Visuo. But I want to keep the Visuo's motors intact, if that makes any sense, and then just wire them into the connectors on the GPS, because the motors on the Visuo are really good. They've got a lot of torque. I've carried a run cam on it. It just seems to be able to handle the limitations of one cell batteries much better. But like I said, I mean, as you can tell, it's like the dimensions are almost exactly the same. It just, the Visuo just has more body. It may or may not work. I don't know. I haven't made up my mind if I'm going to do it or not, but I'm really debating about it. I just don't know yet. So anyway, um, if anybody has something to add, if you have any advice as far as doing a frame transplant, I've done one successfully, which I might do a video about. I've got acro and FPV on a S1700. I used a Blade QX2 flight controller for it, and it works pretty flawlessly. I mean, for my first transplant, I'm pretty happy about it. But yeah, if anybody has any advice, or if they've tried it, or if any of you have tried moving it to a different frame, definitely post a video about it, or post a link or something, because I'd be really interested to check it out and get an idea of how well it works. Because yeah, this platform, this flight controller, um, the autopilot interface, it's so much better and so much more advanced in a lot of ways compared to even hobby grade quads. And I'd really like to see more done with it. And so, anyway, that's all I got. So hopefully, even if you're not so much into the hardware side and trying to do acro mods or whatever, frame transplants, whatever I'm trying to talk about, yeah, just give acro a try, and just kind of be patient, keep it up high, and get yourself comfortable, get acclimated to the controls before you try to do any crazy stuff. But that's all I got for today, and thanks for watching.